So you launched and you have no damn customers. You've done the posts, you have invited people to your launch, and probably not a lot of people came. I'm speaking from personal experience here. You've done all the things. You've advertised. You've talked to all your family and friends. You've talked to whoever would listen, and not a lot of people would. And so you think you just, you're spending money, you're throwing ads maybe, and you're just getting nowhere. And that's the problem that we're here to solve today. Do you know what the number one problem? Well, actually, I didn't do the math, but what I think the number one problem is on Reddit these days, where most of you founders hang out? Let's go see. I was going to clean up my tabs and my task bar, but then I figured, well, if I have to live in chaos, you have to live in chaos. But anyway, look here what I found in Reddit. Just searching two keywords, find customers and then distribution. So let's look. I just can't find customers for my software as a service. I need guidance. You're not struggling to find customers. You're struggling because you skipped the step that becomes before finding customers. Well, that's true in my case a little bit. Help me find customers. Finding customers is a nightmare. How to get customers? If you're out there struggling to find customers, feel like nothing is working, you're not alone. And it's true. Almost every complaint that I see on a lot of these subreddits is about the fact that we can't find customers. Somebody in here, I think it was in the keyword distribution. Distribution is just a fancy way of saying where you're getting your customers. And so if you don't have any distribution, well, it means you don't have any customers. Oh, this is key, right? This one right here. Distribution became brutal in the AI world. I think that's true because every bozo on every street corner is throwing, their latest AI developed apps, and it's so easy. It's easy to make an application. I would argue that it's not easy to make one that's worth paying for, but there's a lot of noise out there now. So this is the single biggest problem that I've had since starting my business, and the single biggest problem that I think everybody has. So let's get into a way through this. Today we're going to start probably a 3, maybe a 4 episode arc of talking about what you can do to make a go-to-market playbook. When you're a small team and you don't have $20,000 to spend to develop that go-to-market strategy. So let's get started with that. Okay, now we need to get serious for a minute. I really need you to watch all the way to the end of this episode. And I really need you to tune into the one next week and the week after, and possibly the week after that, because we're going to try to solve this problem. I'm learning right along with you, and I'm kind of involving the professionals right now, but I'm also at the same time, I'm a fan of repeatability, and I want to be able to do this for myself. So unless you have a whole bunch of customers that you just can't, even service them all because you have so many, I think that's probably not most of you. And I wish you would just watch this episode, comment, give us your thoughts. We're going to learn together, and I hope you have some nuggets of wisdom for me. And let's jump in. All right, so today I'm going to leave you with a landing page at brkit.vip/GTM. Hopefully I'll remember to display it on the screen here a few times. If not, look in the description. I'm planning to do a bigger kind of sort of university level, like multi-episode course or multi-day course on business planning. And so if you go to that landing page, you'll get a chance to download this presentation, and then as they come out the next week and the week after that, this presentation will evolve because it's I haven't completed the next parts yet. And you'll be able to download the latest, and you'll be able to express interest in further education. I'm trying to hit the bases for y'all that I encounter in my own business, and I'm hoping to make this better for all of us so that our businesses will be more successful. So let's jump in. We're gonna talk about developing our target. We're gonna talk about ideal customer profiles, and we're going to talk about product fit audit, which is just where we go and see, like, if I'm going to serve this customer, do I have what I need, or do I need to develop something, or maybe just rethink it? Um, uh, we're going to develop a value proposition and talk about what that is, and talk about pricing, and then we're actually going to develop that offer that goes with that. And we're going to close the gaps and make sure that we've got everything covered, and then execute. So I'm calling this the go-to-market campaign blueprint. And it's just for us. A lot of bigger companies have huge marketing departments that can do all of this and get really complicated and measurement-y, and use special software, and maybe to have rev ops teams and all that. We don't have any of that. If you're me, you've got 3 people and some virtual team members, and that's it. So we have to be lean. And so I've made up my own version that works for a business my size. So the goal today is just that, trying to make this playbook so I know how to go after this market and get these customers and make these leads convert without having to have a huge marketing engagement, or spend $20,000 or have a huge team to do it. So the way that we're going to approach that is we're going to niche down, if possible, to people that we know, like to kinds of people that we know or that we're very knowledgeable about. And the reason why is the offer has to resonate or nobody's going to bite. It has to be tailored specifically to that audience and solve the problems that they specifically have. And so we're going to leverage our tribes, or join a tribe if we don't have one. And we'll talk more about that in a second. And that's because it's easier to sell to somebody who trusts you, or who feels like they're in some sort of a group with you. Creating a value proposition. So we're going to make a great offer that solves problems, right? And that's so that we know what we're selling. Okay. And then execute. It's easy. It's going to be really easy to develop and deliver that message now, because you've done all the research, you know who you're talking to, and you're going to find it's going to be so much easier to make the landing page and other assets that you'll be able to feel it, that it's going to resonate, right? And then you'll do that, and maybe you won't get the crickets that you usually get when you start to reach out to these people. All right, so we're gonna do, this is a build in public situation, right? So we're just gonna do this for my business because I need more customers. I need like any customers that pay. So if you know of any, send them to buildrunkit.com. So let's talk about who my tribes are, because that's who I'm gonna try to target first, because they're constituents that I know sort of what their motivations are, so I can get a good start on this and then reach out and do some confirmation, right? And so LGBTQIA plus is a community I've been in, and there's a lot of us. There's a lot of business owners. There are a lot of double income, no kids, so there's a lot of availability. I don't know if that's really relevant here, but yes, they have money. And I know how to reach them. And I can access special programs as an LGBTQ owned business. I can access some grants, or I can do some RFP. I can reply to some RFPs that are only open to my group of people. And I'm a member of the Austin LGBT Chamber of Commerce. So that opens some doors and gives me some direct connections to people who actually listen to me when I make an offer. So this is not so much this about making a really special offer here, but we definitely can tailor it to this audience, and I know I'll get response when I talk to these people. So I'm going to say absolutely. And I should stop saying these people, because these people is me, these people is us. Another one of my tribes is my literal tribe. I'm Cherokee, and there are lots of small businesses, and I'm already in a business network of other tribe members. And so again, I can access RFPs that sometimes are only, or at least um, prioritized for tribe members, and I can demonstrate my membership. So yes, I know enough people that I think I could get through, and I already have gotten at least three people to talk to me. I'm having a little bit of trouble like knowing how to tailor an offer for this audience, but that's something I can work on later, because the one we're going to work on today is Eco Village. I'm on the board of an Eco Village, and there is cash. It comes from different directions, and it's a very frugal community, but they have problems that need to be solved, and they have cash. I've lived on in a community. I've got lots of contacts, so without a doubt, I could reach these people. So that's the answer to maybe your question that you would have made on the following slide, is who is going to be my target market? And so your target market, I don't know how big corporations find the target market, but I think we as small business owners can start with who we know, and who we can sort of say things to that they'll resonate with. We should start there. And if you just don't know anybody, like, I don't know, maybe somebody in your company does, or maybe somebody, find a market and then get to know it. And if you're not in a tribe, join one and start there. So the target market, I break down in a special way because I just needed it simple to just cover my bases, right? So the scope, who is it? What's the exact sector niche? What's the volume? Like, how many customers are we talking about here? And are we talking about like individuals or a team or like a big organization typically, or what kind of target are we looking at? How are decisions made? Governance and decision topography goes to like, if I'm going to convince somebody to buy this product, who are the people that are going to make the decisions and hand over the money? And what's the path of least resistance in? And I think side doors are important here. So in my case, I happen to know of an organization that has a directory of 800 community members. Communities, and might be willing to partner with me in reaching these people. So that's what I'm working on. Social compliance, sort of the value system and the gatekeeper. So what are those cultural standards that I need to know about and that my product has to adhere to? And what are the deal breakers or red flags that this audience is going to be looking at? And there's a lot of there's a lot of landmines in this market that I'm going to develop. So we'll talk about that. And then what does this market respect or demand from people that are selling to them? So current architecture, just, how are they solving a problem now? What does their software stack look like? Or if it's not a software problem, or it should be, but they're on paper, whatever it is, how are they meeting their needs right now? And is it a confusing mess? Are there manual hacks that we'd like to replace? And what are the gaps that exist across this niche? Because these are going to be kind of going into our pain points, right? And then what are our objections to overcome? So is there a primary paranoia that's going to keep them from buying? Probably. And how do we make parting ways with them low risk? So, if they decide they don't want to work with us anymore, will that be easy? Because vendor lock-in or making it difficult for people to get out of a relationship makes them sort of hesitant to get in one in the first place. And then a lot of times, if you're a business like mine, a big objection to overcome is what if I don't want to be in this using this software anymore? How am I going to get my data out in a way that I can port it to another solution? So that's just something that I found comes up a lot for my type of business, and it probably would for you as well as a software as a service, is how do I get my data out? It's sort of like portability the same way we think of it for cell phones. Like, why would I go with a cell phone company that's not going to let me port my number later when the signal's bad and I get tired of working with them? So let's see how I filled this out for the Eco Village. This is a composite of what an Eco Village would look like. And let's see. So our target market, let's see how I answer these questions. Our niche is Eco Village. There's probably about 800 in the US, and they tend to be 20 to 50 resident. That one I sort of pulled out of my hat. I haven't actually done the math yet to know that, but that's good enough information for me, and that's a typical size. And so governance, I happen to know, is done typically by consensus. So that means it's not always this way, but in a lot of community, it means that every member must agree to make a decision to either spend money or take on a project or whatever. So the money decisions, it sort of depends on what it is. If there's a nonprofit that supports the community, there's certain things that the nonprofit can pay for and others that they can't, and it differs from community to community. And then typically there's membership fees, and so there's money raised for decisions and things in investments that affect all the members, or personally people can pay for stuff. So that's what the landscape looks like for me. The path of least resistance is to lead with no big tech and yes to data sovereignty, because what I know about this market is that even though they're stuck using Google Docs sometimes or other solutions like that, they'd rather not have their data exposed to a big company, and they'd rather have complete ownership and privacy. And it's this from a cultural standpoint more than anything. There's not like a lot of big secrets in EcoVillage data typically, but it's good and right for them to want ownership of their data. So social compliance. Again, like the cultural things to worry about are data sovereignty, privacy, and sustainability. Sustainability is a big one, so I'm going to have to learn how to fold that into my messaging and make sure that I'm being honest about being as sustainable as I can. Some deal breakers are that if it's an overpriced or it's too technical, or it's harder than our current analog solution, if it's easier to just do it on paper, like if my vehicle co-op is easier to sign a car out just writing it on a piece of paper, then I'm going to keep doing it like that. So we need to know about those deal breakers, and what do we have to do as a vendor? So in what I know about EcoVillage is a vendor would be well advised to be vocal about sustainability and how they're supporting reducing, recycling, using less resources, and also demonstrating good citizenship. So probably kind of a background of service to the community, and also have a commitment to that community service. And one that I didn't put here is diversity, equity, and inclusion is, from what I've seen, an important thing for intentional communities. And so you're going to want to cover those bases and make sure they understand that you are these things that you say that you are, and you're not just kind of doing lip service because that's what they want to hear. So current architecture, and I might be wrong about this. I could go do some more research on this with other communities, but from what I know, from where I've lived and what I've heard from, just anecdotally, from other communities is currently we do a lot of Google Docs, and they're owned by different people. I think where I lived, the ownership kind of got consolidated under a village-wide system, but for a lot of villages, it wouldn't be that way. It would just be like somebody creates a Google folder and they start sharing it. And so there's a lot of fragility there with access to information and a lot of reliance on institutional memory. So I'm stacking up these problems, right? Because those are going to be important for me in my presentations and the way that I approach problem solving with them later. It is spaghetti because there's uncontrollable, unknowable kind of freemium systems out there like Google Docs and various calendaring systems, sometimes paper reservation systems, things that are difficult to update and also difficult to it's hard to onboard people, not only to a committee, but even just to the community in the first place, because if you know eco-villages, you know there's a lot of committees there's a committee for everything, for pets, for kids, for managing the land, just lots of committees, and there's always a learning curve because each one keeps records differently and there's no one place to go for history. So now objections to overcome. I know that current solutions are free, they're going to say, and maybe there's no money or this solution would require new fees. And so that's going to be a really big objection to overcome if this is going to be a paid solution. We need to always know that we can get regular backups and have access to our data. We want to have ownership and we want to have access to download our data and go away in a huff if we want to, right? And that's true not just of eco villages, probably of almost any organization. And so we can solve that issue. Now the biggest source of kind of leadership and support and also objections is going to be the people themselves. So let's jump in. You may have heard the term ICP thrown around in the past. This is my take on an ICP that's simple enough for us to just fill out really quickly with what we know. We're gonna describe the person, and sometimes it'll be an actual person that you're thinking of. Sometimes it could just be a composite. And it's good to like make sure you have one of kind of like the regular person that would be making this decision, or the regular like typical person in this constituency, and then also maybe document composite of some of the most difficult people. So we're going to take into account their values, like what things that they feel like are important just personally or culturally, what triggers them, what are some pains that they currently live with, where are we going to find them. And you could have put this actually on the previous, like with your target market, like, you know, that could go either place here. In my place, I already know where to get them, and so I'll just kind of fill it in on the slide here. It's already determined that I'm getting them from the Foundation for Intentional Communities website. The blocker, what is their baked-in skepticism? Why are they going to probably make an objection or say no? And then anything else that I need to know. And then so now we can just look at an example. I'll just let you read this. I'm not going to read it to you. Just say a couple of things. These pains are things that we're going to want to try to have in hand and resolve. And that's why doing this for a tribe that you're a part of is so much better, because you really know what those pains are, and maybe you've felt them yourselves. And same goes for all of these boxes. You probably know better if you've been a part of this community or this organization. So let's see. What else do I want to mention here? I think this is a pretty average composite of an eco-village member on a lot of committees. Like sustainability, you don't want to live next to somebody spraying Roundup around the farm. Nonviolent communications is something that's really, I need to correct the spelling on. That's really important, and that just means like talking about what's true for you and not using sort of accusatory language when you're working through a dispute. And now let's go on to another composite that I did, because there is a subset of eco-village people that I know that are sort of resistant, and for whatever reasons they might be a little unyielding or be that one person. Remember, in consensus based decision making, one person can put the kibosh on anything. So in our case, we have to be aware of who these people are and what their triggers might be. So I will focus a little bit on the pain. So that person in an eco-village might be concerned about the shadow hierarchy, like always somebody trying to undermine them or make decisions around them or whatever. They might like just always like to bring receipts and say, see, this is how it's done. These were the decisions that are made, as part of their argument against something that they see as not values aligned. They're worried that some subcommittees are making decisions without them, and that there are people in there that are scheming to just get one over on us. And that maybe they're carrying the intellectual overhead of load. And so these are things I'm going to take into account. And because this is an internal document, I'm not going to share it with my targets. I can say anything that I want, and it's important for me to know. I'll read you what I read here. And remember, this is just a composite of who the most difficult people might be that I'm working with. So just this thing that's after the star here under what else. I must be heard. You must make real efforts to address my concerns, and I am not embarrassed about being the only one against something. All of the end runs around me have been tried, and you will not win. So, like, it's really important to know that there could be people like that, so that you can sort of maneuver that situation. So now that I've got my ICPs, I'm going to start to figure out, like, do I have a play here? You might do a couple of iterations of this product fit audit. And that is because, like, once you've developed the solution, you might just kind of like come back here and see if any more gaps have come to light. But I want to do an early look at this, because maybe this just isn't even something I'm going to pursue because it's too hard. So let's look how I filled it out for the Eco-Village case. So our product fit audit for the Eco-Village, we have a lot of features. We have task boards in the strategy hub that are going to be awesome for Eco-Villages, because they have a lot of committee work, decisions are made, they need to follow up. And so I think that's one of our biggest talking points there. We have projects. So Eco-Villages do project, and there's a lot of moving parts and people involved. And so we have a solution for that. That's not just a Word document where we indented over for the tasks under the milestone. What else? We have unlimited workspaces so that people can focus, so that they can be in the workspace that's for that committee and their documents and their concerns, and they don't have to be in there if they're working on something else. So we have a lot of strengths already that make our product a great one for the solution. Some weaknesses that I found is that we don't have event calendars, resource booking. We need to have our vehicle co-op and our common spaces be able to be reserved. So those are bases I'd want to cover if I can. Donor outreach, data sovereignty, really important. And I put it as a weakness because we're not doing that right now. We have everybody in the same database. So we'll need to see if we can take care of that. And then just some other things that we need to consider trying to address, because as many of these gaps as we can address, the more our message is going to resound. And then some opportunities that I identified are like really to enable complete ownership of that data and have it be secure and modern, and offer a product that's not by an unknowable entity like Google, someone that's owned by somebody like them, and somebody that is knowable, a company that's small enough to where you really know who's running it and what their values are. Being the first consensus first workspace, that is a big opportunity, because having a platform that respects communal governance values and isn't just sort of trying to force fit it into that role could be huge for this type of communities. And then having one bundle that kind of handles all of those village operations and donor marketing, because a lot of villages do have kind of educational nonprofits, or some sort of nonprofit or land trust associated that has donors. So the big one here is that thing I mentioned earlier, where one person can have a concern, and it might be privacy, or it might be like if my whole application isn't open source, or whatever it might be, that could kill the whole deal. So I need to be aware of that. So how are we going to close those gaps? And so this is where we're going to wrap up today. So if you're tired of listening to me talk, we're almost done. We're going to close these gaps in various ways, or we're going to decide, we just can't do this one right now. So I identified that I need event calendars. Well, I figured out I need those for a lot of reasons and a lot of constituencies, so I'm probably going to add them. Resource booking, yes, like we'll see about how I add that, but I think it's really important, and I think it would just be the feature that tips over into a sale for this market. So if I can do it, I'm probably going to do it, and maybe leave some advanced features for a future release. I'm going to handle their donor outreach by just white labeling a Kumba mail and include it in the package that I sell to them. Data sovereignty, we're containerized, so we can deploy this on a server just for that village, or grouped with other eco villages, so they'll know where their data is and who they're sharing the database with or not, or maybe it's their own database. And if we install only Office on that server, then they'll have a shared document environment that's only owned by them, and that Google can't scrape and use for intelligence purposes. Decision tracking is something that would be a great new fit to my strategy hub, as a new tool for any organization that tracks decisions that are made. So I might consider implementing that. The Docs Vault for their their membership documents and community formation documents and things like that. Yeah, if we put in an only Office server, we can meet that need. Labor and work share tracking, sure, maybe not until version 2. That vendor lock-in fear is very easy to address. We can just make the entire workspace exportable to a zip file with CSVs, as well as their, the workspace database backups that we already have. And so that's a start. And, when we continue on, we're going to talk about value proposition. Like, what is the thing that's going to make this ICP want to buy the product? What the pricing looks like. We're going to develop the whole offer. We're going to put together the lean marketing asset toolkit, which is just a few things like landing page and so forth that you need. to have ready, and then we're going to check and make sure we've got everything ready, and then we're just going to execute. We're going to go out and sell. So I hope that was helpful as a start, and I hope you will visit, what was it, brkit.vip/GTM for go-to-market, and get this download. Or if you want to wait until like 2 or 3 episodes down the road, I'll put the complete presentation out there so you can just have it. And then hopefully you will add your email to my list so that you get contacted by us for other educational opportunities. And I will talk to you next week.